Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Earth Game podcast. I am your host, Monica, and here on this podcast, we talk about pretty much anything that can help you along your journey through this game that we call life here on beautiful planet Earth. I am just so elated to be back doing this podcast. It's been a minute. It really has been quite some time. And I knew that I wanted to bring the podcast back with this video feature, so I'm just so excited. And I figured what better topic to bring the podcast back with than my healing journey. And the reason why so many of you follow me and listen to me and watch me, and it really is a journey, because where I am today in comparison to where I was, 6 years ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, last year, last month, we're always evolving. And yet still on this healing journey, I just keep uncovering and unraveling more and more and more. So I have my notes here, and I'm going to take you guys through kind of where I was before, overcoming a lot of healing and health challenges, specifically where I am now, and also where I'm going, what my new goals are in every part of my life, and how my healing really plays a part and ties into that, because it is all so connected, and sometimes we kind of forget that, and reflecting back really allows you to see all of those connections. So if you don't know my background, my story, I was diagnosed with a medical condition called lymphedema several years ago. I started noticing some inflammation and swelling in my left leg, really around my ankle and foot area, when I was in high school, when I was a senior. And I never had any major hospitalizations or surgeries or crazy things happening. I did actually have issues with my period, and I didn't kind of connect those two until after I was diagnosed and after I started learning about the body. And even now I look back and I just really reflect on the connection there. So pretty much after doing certain testing and seeing different specialists, I got the diagnosis that I had lymphedema. I was going to have it forever. Really no cure, minimal treatment. I was to wear compression garments and go to physical therapy for a manual lymphatic drainage massage. And I did. But honestly, when I was first diagnosed, it kind of just went over my head. I think that I was just whatever they said, I was like, okay, this is what it will be. And it's no big deal. And this is just my life now. And it wasn't until several months into having to put a garment on every single day, having to go to a weekly physical therapy, and going to college and seeing that a lot of my friends didn't have to do what I was doing. My baseline just to keep myself at a minimum was already way more than what I had seen other people doing. And because when you have lymphedema, it basically, there's issues with your lymphatic system, which is one of the most important parts of our body. And I had to take several different precautions. Also, living in Texas and it being really hot exacerbated my inflammation and swelling, and it was just very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. And then of course all the other things that come with it, so wanting to hide, wanting to wear pants and boots and not have anybody see that there's something wrong, because if they see, they're going to ask me. And they did, especially in college. A lot of people would just either look or ask or make statements. And, after some time, I started really thinking to myself, okay, what can I do to just help my body? What are some things that I could do? And I wasn't even thinking about healing or anything. I was just thinking, what can I do to kind of help my body? My parents were really supportive, and my dad actually found this book that was a diet for lymphedema to kind of help with inflammation. I actually already was, at this time, I think I had already been vegan, but I was not healthy. So I went vegetarian just as a challenge with one of my friends, and I decided to stay kind of pescatarian, vegetarian. Then I went fully vegetarian, then I went vegan, but I was not healthy. I was eating pastas and potato chips, and I wouldn't say I was like very, very unhealthy, but I definitely was not like, I was nowhere near where I am today. And once I started really changing my habits, a lot had to change with my diet too. So my dad found this book and I started following it. And I was also having a spiritual awakening at the time, and I started really to uncover myself spiritually. And of course, it's always connected, and it was connected. But I started just learning about other people healing from other ailments, other disease, and them doing it naturally, like a holistic version of healing. And so I got really fascinated with people's healing journeys and what they did and the steps that they took and the mindset shifts that they had to make and how long it took them and specifically what was happening in their body. Like, I just became very, very interested in that. And I remember Instagram was a really big source of information for me, along with books and documentaries. And I just remember like hearing and seeing and reading about all of these people's different healing journeys that it was like these little breadcrumbs, right? Because again, when I got diagnosed, I never thought I'm going to heal this naturally. Like, it took me some time to kind of unravel and learn the things that I had learned. So, then I thought to myself, oh, I wonder if there were people that had lymphedema that like healed themselves naturally. And I still wasn't thinking about myself. I was just so curious to see other people's journeys. And it actually, like, I feel like it happened pretty fast with the movements of my thought and what I decided for myself. So I ended up finding, and this was back in, what year was it? This was like 2017, 2018, I want to say, when I found 2 testimonials of 2 different people who had lymphedema, were diagnosed, and they were able to overcome and heal it naturally. And so I was like, oh, well, if they can do it, like, maybe I can do it too. And these were forums, like blog posts. I honestly don't even know if I could find them now. Like, if I had to go back and look at them, I may not even, I don't remember the website, but I just remember, so one was a woman and one was a man. Lymphedema is more common in women because it is a consequence that comes after chemo and radiation, and it really damages the lymph nodes. But I didn't have that experience. I never had cancer, and they just told me that it was in my genetics. And so once I saw these testimonials and I started putting everything together and I started learning spiritually, I decided that I was going to heal. And once I made the decision, a lot of people talk about, like, you just have to decide. And once you decide, it's like a brand new you. And that was literally my experience. Once I decided that I was going to heal this naturally, it became my number one priority in life. Everything else came second to my health, the new lifestyle that I was experiencing, the inner work, the reading and learning and educating myself. That was my number one priority. So the changes that I started making were diet, exercise, stress, and sleep. Those were like the first things that I really dove into. And I was in college at the time. So, I did have a lot going on. I also was playing in orchestras and I had a lot, like, I was just doing a lot. And I started learning, like, okay, the reason why the body gets disease is because it's overburdened with stress, with toxins, acidity. There's too much buildup and there's not enough release. And so I was like, okay, what is it that I need to do to kind of counteract that? And I remember thinking to myself, like, okay, if all of this happened because of my actions and my decisions and what I was doing for my health, or actually not doing for my health, then I can get myself out of this and I can overcome it and kind of not negate, but in a way, like, do the opposite of what I didn't do. So that's what I started doing. And I feel like, when I changed my diet, so I was vegan, then I decided, okay, I'm going to do only whole food. So I cut out pretty much every type of processed food except for, and there was a little bit of like a transition in between that. So I would find some cleaner processed foods, some cleaner, healthier alternatives. But then again, once I made that decision of like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to really see what happens with my body, just more so as an experiment. And then as I started experimenting, I was like, oh, I can really like heal. So once I decided, I cut out all the processed foods, and pretty much the only processed foods I had were like a one ingredient nut butter, like an almond butter, where almond was the only ingredient, lentil, chickpea pastas, all organic. Everything I had was organic. And what else did I have that was processed? That's pretty much it, besides like spices. So my diet was high raw vegan. That's what I decided at first. High raw. And it's funny because I remember thinking to myself, I could never go raw vegan. It's just too hard for me. Da 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 da. And then here I am several months later, cutting out the steamed veggies and cooked foods that I was having, which were still very healthy. But I just had this inner intuition of like, no, you need to be fully raw. I was doing a lot of juices, a lot of smoothies, lots of fruit, fresh salads, zucchini noodles with my own homemade dressings and sauces. Like, it was really a full-time job doing this. So that was the diet. I was exercising, nothing crazy, because when you are detoxing and eliminating from your body, you want to give the energy in your digestion a break and allow it to do that detox process. And when you are building muscle and consuming more protein, that kind of counteracts that natural detox process that we go through. So I wasn't working out anything crazy. I wasn't trying to put on muscle. I just wanted to move my body and get things flowing and circulating. So walking, I mean, I was in college, so I was walking anyways, just around campus to get from one place to another. Going to the gym, going to yoga, doing my own stretching, and of course doing my own dry brushing and lymphatic maintenance by myself at home, along with continuing to go to my physical therapy. And I found the most amazing physical therapist, Michelle. I loved her so much. She actually had both Western and Eastern education when it comes to what to do for the body. And she was a huge catalyst in my healing. She actually used to play healing meditations for me during my therapy sessions. And she told me, when I play these meditations and when you're meditating, your inflammation is gone and there's really nothing for me to do. And obviously she didn't tell me that until we were done, because it's still good to have lymphatic massage, but it really opened my eyes to the mind-body connection, which I'll get to here in a little bit. But I just want to talk about the physical stuff first. So I did that. What else did I do? Really minimizing stress, meditation, journaling, and overall being aware of what was going on in my mind, because the mental aspect, I would argue, was probably one of the hardest things for me and for all of us, because we can't see this. We can only see this and what's around us, So really minimizing my stress, and a huge part of that was sleep, because I was somebody who would really when I was a freshman, pretty much in college, and even when I was in high school, I didn't get my 8 hours that I needed most of the time. And I would kind of brag like, oh, I just sleep for 5 or 6 hours. I just have so much going on, the hyper busy, hyper masculine, always doing something and not allowing myself to rest. And now when I look at what I know about myself in my most true form, like, I need a lot of rest. And not everybody needs the same amount of rest, but just learning who I am now, which I'll again get to a little bit later. But I really started allowing myself to sleep 7-8 hours minimum every single night, because like I said, it was a priority. School was also a very high priority, but healing was the number one priority for me. And I started noticing very, very, very quickly, if I wasn't sleeping, I was more inflamed. I was more kind of, grouchy, complaining, not wanting to do things, not as much focus. And I really got to see very quickly all of those physical changes that I implemented within a week, couple days, few weeks to a month. Like, I really saw the dramatic changes that came. And even if you're not somebody that has like a chronic or medical diagnosis and you just want to do better for your body, like those are the foundational things. And I was getting outside and getting in the sun. Those were the most foundational things that I did that really made such a dramatic difference. And I had a routine. So I had lots of juice, lots of smoothies. I always had fruit with me or a salad or something to eat. I didn't eat out at all whatsoever. I stopped drinking any sort of alcohol. Like it was a complete 180. And then once I graduated from undergrad and I went to grad school and I moved here to this home, I started learning about water. And I started really learning about, all the things that I was doing, how amazing they were, and the water that I was drinking really not being up to par with all of the other things that I was doing. And I remember watching this incredible documentary. I'll link it down in the show notes. It's called Your Brain on Water by Dr. Corinne Allen, and she actually researches the effects of dehydration not only on the body but also the brain. And in this documentary, she's talking about this water that I now drink, that I share all the time. If you know me at all, you know I'm obsessed with this water. And in this documentary, there's actually a picture that she puts up of edema on the screen and swelling in the legs, like swollen legs. And I was stunned because I thought to myself, why has nobody shared this with me before? I had seen specialists, I had asked them questions, I had been to hospitals, and they said, no, honey, you're going to have this for the rest of your life. There's nothing you can do. And I remember seeing that documentary thinking to myself how revolutionary this information is. And that when you have edema and when you have inflammation in the body, it's due to being dehydrated. And so what did I do? I changed my water. And really, it did change my life, truly. All the other things that I was doing were great, and I noticed such an immediate impact. I feel like the water was kind of a foundational piece, like a little puzzle piece that was missing. And I don't know where I would be without this water. I truly don't know where I would be without this water. So that was one of the documentaries that I watched. And I also do have a free web class about the water if you want to learn more about that. So I'll link it as well. And I also watched another documentary called Heal. And that documentary, highly recommend. It's all about the natural healing process that occurs when you go to the emotional side of things, because everything that happens that manifests physically is emotional first. It's non-physical first. And there were these incredible stories of people who had many different ailments, disease, cancer, you name it. And they started doing the internal emotional healing and meditating and all of these like inner spiritual things that you would think, have nothing to do with inflammation in the body or some sort of disease, yet it's the root of this whole thing. And that documentary truly did change so much for me, because I already knew the power of mind over matter in my life. I mean, I was studying psychology, and I've always been interested in, mind over matter. And with my meditations, it just, all this information was coming together about mindset and how it all starts here. It really does. And I started noticing this because I started experimenting. The days that I would be very intentional with my practice, and part of what I was doing in these meditations that I started in therapy that I then did at home, was visualizing my body and specifically my legs to be exactly the same, because I only had swelling in one of them and the other one was totally fine. So seeing them the same, feeling what that feels like, not identifying with I have lymphedema or this is my lymphedema, but really identifying as a healthier version of myself. The days that I made that such an intentional practice for myself, no swelling. And of course, all the other things I was doing, it's all combined. But the days that I would kind of put that practice on the back burner, or the days that I was struggling, second guessing, thinking like, can I really heal naturally? Is this even possible? Those days are when I had the most physical symptoms. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things that I've learned is it truly only matters what you believe and what you think about yourself. In any case, whether it's health, whether it's your relationships, whether it's your career or your job or business or money, like it only matters what you believe. That's it. That's truly it. So once I got into grad school and I got my water machine, and I have been drinking this water for over 4.5 years now, I was able to start going to a more cooked foods diet, still whole foods, plant-based, but I really noticed how much the water was supporting in my health with the hydration, the molecular hydrogen, and all the things that are about the water. I won't even go into it. But now I feel like I'm really integrating into a what you could think of as like a normal healthy lifestyle, but taking it to the next level of like true wellness for me. I'm not now thinking, how can I get healthy? I'm thinking, how can I start really thriving, really living in my purpose, and really making the most out of life, you know? I saw this one quote. What did it say? It said, something along the lines of like the purpose of healing is not so that you can feel the pain or the trauma, it's so that you can feel the joy. And I think that it's so important for all of us who've been through anything. I mean, if you're living on this planet, you've been through something. We've all been through things. And sometimes the hardest part of the healing journey is allowing ourselves to feel good and feel happy and feel grateful and blessed and these like positive things that we may have not really honestly experienced before. So now I'm really challenging myself to see what my body can do. I've never been like a super athletic, super fit, sports oriented person, but now I really want to challenge my body. I want to see how much muscle I can put on. I want to be really strong. I want to be really fit. I want to take care of myself, and I want to live in my purpose. And actually, when I was on my healing journey and I started making these changes with, you know, everything that I was doing, I naturally lost about 15 to 20 pounds. Without even trying. I wasn't thinking, you know, I need to lose weight or anything like that. I thought it would be great if I could, but it wasn't my sole focus. My sole focus was, what can I do to support my body and our bodies, our minds and our bodies. This right here is the most amazing technology on the planet. There's nothing that comes close to us, truly. It's just, do we realize that, and do we put that realization into practice? So now where I am with, you know, everything that I've learned, because honestly, like healing, it doesn't just, you don't get to a point and you're like, I'm done, check healing off the list. That's not a thing. It's like an onion, right? You're constantly peeling back these layers and peeling back these maybe beliefs or thoughts or identifications that you had, and really coming into your truest self, your healthiest, your happiest, your most rich, not just money, but rich in love, rich in spirit, rich in kindness, you know, all of those things. You're just coming more into yourself. And that's kind of where I am now. I feel like on the other side of things, where I've got my health good. I'm the healthiest I've ever been. I feel like I'm the most aligned with myself that I've ever been. And now it's like, okay, what comes next? True wellness, cultivating a life every single day that I just cannot wait to wake up to, going to bed thinking, this is my life. Like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I've created. And, you know, if you are on a healing journey and maybe you're kind of in the thick of it, you have to remember that everyone who is maybe in a life or living a result that you want was in the place that you're in now. Like, I was struggling with my health. I was for a long time. I had to learn. I had to do the things every day. I had a lot of people that didn't understand what I was doing. I had friends that would make fun of the way that I was eating or, you know, what I was doing. And you just can't let that affect you, because they're not in your shoes, number one, and they may not understand or agree, and that's okay. They don't have to. It's not their life. It's not their life. So, what else do I have on here? Yeah, really allowing yourself to trust the process. And the support that I did have from some of the closest people in my life, like if I didn't have that on my down days, it would have been really difficult. It would have been really difficult. We're not meant to be alone. We're meant to connect. We're meant to have relationships. That's the foundation of everything. That's the foundation, is connection. And so maybe you don't have anybody, or maybe you only have a few. Cling on to those few. And if you're going on a healing journey yourself, you can always message me. I'm here anytime. I know what it's like sometimes to feel alone. And you just really have to trust that this is a season, this is a phase where your devotion and dedication to yourself, to your healing, is what's going to get you to that next season and that next phase that you can see clearly in your mind, that you know, I'm going to overcome this. This is not how my story ends. This is merely just a chapter, and I'm turning the page every single day. And that's the mindset you have to have. So now I just want to share a little bit of vulnerability with you guys, because I think it's always nice to see even somebody who has overcome something or has changed who they are or the kind of life that they live. It doesn't end, like I said, and there's always things that you're going to be working through. There's always limiting beliefs. There's always insecurities and vulnerabilities, and that doesn't mean that any it doesn't mean that any work that you did wasn't enough or adequate. It just means that, again, it's another layer, right? And so some of those things for me now are, I'm still getting comfortable wearing dresses and skirts, because for so long I would just wear pants and boots, and I didn't want anyone to see the garment that I had to wear. And I had to, it was from my toes, literally down on my toes. I had to wear these little compression toe socks to where my hip and thigh connect. So my whole leg. And I didn't want to ever be exposed unless I had to, just because I didn't want to think about it. I didn't want people to talk or ask about it. And I just wanted to kind of push it away. And those thoughts and beliefs, not that they're still there, but it's just like that muscle training, that like habit that you have in your mind, that the habitual thought. And I still notice when I put on a dress or I put on a skirt, I am uncomfortable some of the time. And I'm like, okay, this is like a still something that I got to work on. Does it mean that I didn't already overcome so much? No, I haven't worn compression garments since, I don't know, 2019, 2020. I never will have to wear them again, and I will never have to go to a lymph or lymphedema specialist ever again. Thank God that I opened my eyes to the world of natural healing, because I did have specialists who were they were recommending surgery, and they were telling me that the surgery was very high risk with minimal benefit. And I just thought to myself, why would I do that? That just doesn't even make any sense whatsoever. So of course I didn't, and I never wanted to do surgery. And it's actually funny, because one of the specialists that I went to see, who the first appointment that I had with them, I was asking a lot of questions. Can I heal this naturally? Like, what can I do for myself? And the answer was no, there's nothing you can do. This is not curable. There's no healing that you can do. And then when I came back for my follow-up a year later, and the first appointment, they were telling me, like, if you don't get this under control, if you don't start, not even telling me what to do, but if you don't start taking care of yourself, this is going to spiral, because with lymphedema, there are different stages, and they say that once you reach a stage, there's no reversing back, and it's just going to stay that size, and the inflammation will be that size forever. And basically the vision the painting that was painted for me was that it's going to get out of hand. And I was 18 years old at the time. And then I went back a year later for my follow-up appointment, and they were shocked at my improvement. And they told me, well, I don't know what you've been doing, but just keep doing it. And in my mind, I was like, yeah, you're never going to see me again. And they never did. And I'm just so happy that I followed my own intuition and my own inner, kind of like the breadcrumbs. And I wasn't by myself doing it, but I did have to have those realizations. And sometimes when I tell people the story of having a diagnosis and all the things that I had to overcome, like sometimes the phrase I get is like, oh, I'm so sorry that you went through that. And I'm not sorry at all. I would do it again every single time over. If I had to choose, rewind my life and go back, I would do it again, because it's not that I was necessarily very, very unhealthy. Like I wasn't obese or anything, but I was always overweight. I was never super fit or prioritized my health in the way that I do now. And I didn't know what I knew about health. I mean, I have learned so much just from educating myself because I wanted to overcome this. I probably wouldn't have learned any of this if I didn't get sick. And so I'm so grateful that I overcame it, because now I'm on the other side again where I'm like, okay, I'm thriving. What can I do to get even better and to be even happier and to grow closer in my purpose and get closer to God and all of these things? So I'm really pushing myself with my like workout regimen, and my nutrition is changing a little bit. I'm still whole foods, plant-based, but more cooked foods, more protein, more fats. I still love carbs. I eat tons of juice, smoothies, raw foods. That's really what my body loves as my foundation, but I'm also increasing other things. And it's just really cool to see the changes and what's kind of shifting for me now in this season that I'm in. And I'm looking to see if there's anything else that I wanted to add on here. Kind of about what I'm experiencing right now. It's honestly just another level of trust. So part of the workout regimen that I'm implementing right now, there's more cardio than I've ever been used to. And I just started a new jogging, what's the word? Routine, I guess, or program. I don't even know what to call it. And I am really just showing myself what I'm possible to do that I have not done before. And it's been really cool because, again, it's that mental battle. There's always going to be times where you're going to try to talk yourself out of things because you're scared, you're comfortable, you just want to keep yourself safe, right? That's the purpose of our ego. That's the purpose of being comfortable. It's like a protection mechanism. And I have had to tell myself many times, like, you can keep going. You can do another rep. You can jog another minute. Like, you got this. And it's really building another sense of trust and confidence with myself, where that challenge and that push makes you feel even more of a reward. Whereas in the past, when I was on my healing journey, maybe it had to do with, really trusting that I can overcome having a medical problem, or that I am not going to cheat on my diet. I was very 0 to 100. Like, some of my friends were concerned because they were like, is this even healthy? Like, you can have one cheat meal. And I was like, no, I cannot have a one cheat meal. I'm not going to make this process any longer than it has to be. And I knew that if I would have a cheat meal, or if I would have something that was outside of the protocol that I had given myself, I didn't have any doctors. I just was studying healing and how it worked naturally in the body. Dr. Robert Morse, Dr. Arnold Ehret, Dr. Sebi. I really wanted to go on the alkaline diet when I first started learning about healing, but it was not accessible to me, and I was in college and I didn't have the funds. But I just did my own research and I put myself on this protocol, just pure intuition. And I just knew that I had to stick to it. Were there times that I wanted to eat, I don't know, bread or fries or whatever I wanted, cake? Yeah, there were. And I just had to keep reminding myself of that delayed gratification of, what do you want more? Well, the thing I want the most is my health. The thing I want the most is to not have to have inflammation. And so it's that same thing now of delaying gratification, but it's different. Now I want to push myself to being really fit and athletic. Now I know that I'm healthy now, and I want to get even healthier. So it's still sometimes a mental challenge and a mental battle. And when you allow yourself to trust yourself that I can show myself, I can do what I said I was going to do, that gives you the biggest confidence boost of anything else. If you tell yourself you're going to work out and you go work out, the feeling that you get afterwards is the best part of it. Same thing with if you give yourself a bedtime cutoff and you're like, I'm going to go to bed at this time, and then you do it and you wake up and you feel unstoppable. And that is really what I am experiencing now in my journey. So I'm super excited to keep sharing more about this. I know a lot of you follow me for this experience that I share with my healing and with lymphedema. I do have a healing guide available for purchase. It's a very long PDF of pretty much everything that I did, all the resources that I used, what I learned, things that you can dive into to uncover for yourself, because there's so much that goes into natural healing that you can do that maybe was different from my journey, and everybody's journey is different. I would definitely recommend the water for anybody. It doesn't matter if you have a health issue or not. But I have a healing guide, and then I'll also leave my link to sign up for the waitlist for my lymphedema course. It was on the list to release last spring, a few months ago, and I've just had so many different projects in my business that it has taken a lower priority, but I will be making a lymphedema course at some point. So if you want to be notified for any updates that I have, release dates or anything like that, sign up to be on the wait list. And as soon as I'm able to get the course out, I will, because I know how many people have asked me so many questions, specifically women, about this topic, and I know that there's so much more that I can share, even from what I've shared right now. So I'll leave everything down below, and if you don't already follow me on socials, Instagram and TikTok, you can find me at _Monica Wren. And I will be sharing more. Again, feel free to reach out to me, send me a message if you have any questions about this. Maybe I'll do another episode. You guys let me know. Another episode on answering your specific questions with my healing journey, or where I am now with my health, different protocols and things. And yeah, I'm so excited for this podcast and to share more. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you on the next episode of the Earth Game podcast.